Hello and welcome to Filling the Sink, a podcast from Catalan News. My name's Lorcan Doherty and today we're talking about skiing. What a difference a few months and a few thousand metres makes. In no time we'll be sunbathing on the Costa Brava, dining al fresco into the long summer nights and cooling off in the Mediterranean. But right now, it's ski season. So wrap up warm, grab your goggles and gloves. This week, Filling the Sink heads to the slopes. But hold on, with the climate emergency and ongoing drought, does it make sense to be going skiing? Well, that's what we'll be discussing today, myself and Guifré Jordan. Hello, Guifré.
Hi, Lorcan. Pleasure to be here.
Good to see you. And this week, Guifré travelled to the La Molina ski resort and a nearby town to hear both sides of the debate. We'll be hearing about that soon. But first, Guifré, have you ever been skiing yourself?
Yeah, actually twice in my life. They were very nice experiences. I had fun. But I proved not to be very skillful, let's say. So, but still, yeah, worth trying.
And you're not alone, Guifré. 40% of Catalans have been skiing at some point, and there are over 700,000 frequent skiers. That's 11% of the Catalan population. So it's a popular activity here.
Quite a lot, yeah, quite a lot.
Those figures from the Catalan government and based in the last pre-pandemic season, so 2018, 2019. And that year there were, if you add up all the days of skiing done by everyone, there were 2,087,000. So that's a lot of skiing.
And only in 4 months, because you've got to take into account it's December, January, February, March. That's the ski season.
Okay, so that's the ski season. I mean, sometimes the end of November, sometimes into April, especially when Easter falls in April.
Exactly. Early April. That's more or less this period, but not much more than 4 months.
So that's when we go. Where do we go?
Well, we have to go to the Catalan Pyrenees. Yes, so there's no...
So not the French or the Andorran or the Aragon Pyrenees?
If you were to go, come on, go to the Catalan Pyrenees. Yeah. There's loads of
Again, you're in good company. 80% of Catalans go to the Catalan Pyrenees.
You see. And there's loads of slopes, loads to offer, because this mountain range is covering the whole of Catalonia's north. Especially the western part, the central and western part is where highest mountains are to be found. And, some people might think, Catalonia, there's only sun, beach. What are these guys talking about? Well, I have to say that in Catalonia, we've got highest mountains, the highest points of countries such as Germany, Poland, Sweden, Norway. So, our top summits are over 3,000 meters. So this is not a flat country like the Netherlands, let's say. We have mountains.
Yeah. Just because the summer's great doesn't mean you can't enjoy yourself in winter too.
Exactly.
So altogether, there's actually 700 kilometres of ski runs. That includes, alpine downhill skiing. There's almost 500 kilometres of that sort. And then there's also 200 kilometres of skiable cross-country trails, Nordic skiing.
Which actually it's the most traditional way of skiing here in Catalonia, like 100 years ago or so.
To get from village to village?
Probably, yeah. To go to school, to work, whatever. So that's a typical means of transport in the Pyrenees.
Well, speaking of those kind of old school days, I saw that last year La Molina, which is the resort that you went to, had a celebration, 75 years since they had the first ski lift in Spain. And lots of people dressed up as in the old traditional gear and stuff. It's actually the oldest ski station in Catalonia. And there's another one just beside it, Guifré.
Yeah, La Masella, also in the same county in Cerdanya. And yeah, it's maybe not as famous, but it's La Molina plus Masella. It's like a skiing hub. Masella
is actually known for night skiing, I believe.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There you go. Didn't know that. Night skiing.
But what I did know is that the fact that these two ski resorts are a hub and they are very close to each other make massive traffic jams on Sunday evenings and on Saturday mornings in winter in the C16 highway.
Right.
This highway connecting Barcelona and this Cerdanya county. It's a mess every Sunday evening.
The biggest ski station in Spain is actually in Catalonia as well, Baqueira Barret. This is over in the Val d'Aran, which we've done a podcast about. It's a kind of a unique area full of it's got its own culture and everything. Yeah, and it's also got this massive ski station.
Exactly. Val d'Aran being the only place in Catalonia in the north face of the Pyrenees, so beyond the wall,
So,
right?
so good for snow, more facing
Exactly.
the north.
Atlantic weather too, so it's a very unique place.
Also, kind of not too far away from there, kind of in the northwest of Catalonia, we've got another very famous one, Boitaul. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's a hard
Boitaul,
one.
that's a tricky one. Boitaul,
Right, okay.
yeah, very good. Yeah, very nice. Well, it's obviously a great place to go skiing, but also to spend an extra day visiting also, because Boitaul is where this several Romanesque churches are located, super old churches. We're talking about 1,000-year-old churches that are part of the World Heritage according to UNESCO. So, and they are gorgeous. They are a symbol of the whole Pyrenees and whole Catalonia, I'd say.
Yeah. Also very close to the Catalonia's only national park as well, Aguastortes y Estanya de San Maurici. And the ski station there actually has the highest skiable slopes in the Catalan Pyrenees, 2,751 metres above sea level.
Not too bad.
So that's why, although we're on the Mediterranean, we get snow. It gets pretty high, as we said. Guifré, you mentioned traffic jams are a problem at the weekends coming back. But is there any other option to get to these places?
Yeah, in some cases you can go by train actually. So in the stations such as La Molina or Masella, if you are based in Barcelona, you can take the train. This R3 going to Puigcerdà, which is the capital of Cerdanya County. It stops in La Molina. And again, La Molina and Masella are very close. And just a couple of stops before, it stops in Vall de Núria Valley, where I'd recommend you to go, obviously, because it's striking landscapes. It's a paradise. But apart from this, there's a ski resort.
It's beautiful. And even getting there, once you get the train to the town, there's like another 12 kilometres of a rack railway up the valley that ascends like another 1,000 metres. So
El Cremallera, we would call it,
which is like a zip train. That ski station in Vall de Núria is ideal for beginners, but as you say, the whole area is just beautiful as well. Like I've been there in the summer just for hiking and stuff, and it's beautiful, full of nature. As well as the train then, obviously trains don't go to every ski station, but there's quite a few that have bus links. La Masella and La Molina have bus links from Barcelona. Valter has a bus link from Girona.
Valter is the one farther east in the Pyrenees.
Yeah, I think their tagline is Mediterranean snow because, it's not too far, really, from the Mediterranean.
Yeah, really, it's not too far.
And then, if there's some of the other ones you can also get to from Lleida. So if you wanted to go from public transport, if you make your way to Lleida or to nearby towns, and then there's normally transfers as well.
In case we didn't say it, Val d'Aran, if you go by car, you can go by car, but it's especially far from if you're in Barcelona, obviously.
So from Barcelona, it's about 4 hours.
4 hours, you've got to take that into account.
Yeah. Whereas the closest ski resorts are maybe about an hour and a half, 2 hours. 2 hours.
Yeah, La Molina, it's like 1 hour 50, something like that.
So easier for a day trip.
Yeah, exactly.
And those buses, well, in terms of cost, like some of those day trips, you can get, for example, I saw €59 gets you your bus, your ski pass, your ski insurance from Barcelona or from other towns like Sabadell, Terrassa, Manresa. That's during the week, Wednesday or Friday. Weekend, it's a little bit more expensive. But, you set off at 6:30 in the morning, you get back at 6:30 in the evening. It's a good way to spend a Saturday.
Not too bad.
But in terms of how the cost, skiing is famously expensive, but a lot of that is down to the accommodation.
Exactly. So we've got the stats, the stats you mentioned by the Catalan government in the 2018-2019 season, saying that every skier spends €171 per day. So that's quite a lot. We have to say that almost 2/3 of this amount is accommodation, is hotels. Yeah. So if you save somehow in hotels, maybe you can do a day trip if you are not too far from the ski resort, or if you manage to find a cheap hotel or something. Yeah, so it can be much less than this €170. But in any case, you really need to either pay quite a lot, or you really need to buy equipment first. And maybe if you think, I'm going to become a regular skier, you can buy this coat, all the gear, the goggles, the gloves. That's quite a lot. It can be rented too, but of course, it's extra. Depends
if you're going for a one-off or more often. And there is other activities you can do. Snowboarding is an obvious one.
Yeah, which here it's not really known as snowboarding. Some people who live here might have heard snow.
Snow, yeah.
Like with very Catalan pronunciation, obviously.
I've heard it, and it has confused me. Like, yeah, people saying, talking Catalan or Spanish, and then they're saying, "Oh, I'm going to do snow," and I'm like, "What's doing snow?"
That's snowboarding.
I know what snow is, but what? Right, so that's snowboarding. And I learned a new word in English this week as well, which is snowshoeing, which I think in Catalan is snowshoes are raquetas de neu, like snow
now
rackets.
I know what it is.
Yeah.
Now I know. Yeah, snowshoeing. It's the first time I hear it too.
So
but raquetas de neu, they're very famous here.
And I think it's becoming more popular as well. So that's basically like going hiking in the snow and putting on these shoes that allow you to walk in the snow. So, I mean, you get the same benefits. You're up in the mountains, you're doing sport, you're socialising, you're doing exercise, you're outdoors, it's fun, but maybe a little bit cheaper, but maybe not as thrilling as well. Now, we're going to hear from Guifré and Gerard Escatch-Folk, who travelled to La Molina ski resort and to a nearby town. There they got to know about the debate that is ongoing about the future of skiing, the sustainability and the environmental impact that is concerning people there.
A 5-kilometer-long road tunnel separates La Cerdanya from the rest of Catalonia, the Túnel del Cadí. It was built in 1985 to have a smoother and quicker way to reach the Pyrenees by car and boost tourism. But is it boosting it too much now? Only after paying a €13 toll do we pass through the tunnel to be met with a surprise. Where's the snow? It is not until almost the gates of La Molina ski resort, 1,600 meters above sea level, that snow begins to surround us. Once we reach the slopes, everywhere is white.
Hem sigut sempre pioners en moltes coses.
The head of the commercial department at La Molina, Marta Viver, doesn't hide the fact that 600 snow cannons feed the ski runs. But she tells us it's their water from a closed cycle. She says in spring they store all the water from melted snow and rain, and then in winter they return all this water to the slopes as artificial snow. For her, it's key that the business continues because they generate a lot of jobs, either directly with their staff or indirectly with ski schools, hotels and restaurants. It is actually getting chilly and snowy in La Molina, and Marta offers us a cable car ride to the top of the ski resort, a 20-minute journey. We are now at a height of 2,537 meters, minus 7 degrees. It's very cold. It's very cold. Marta had promised striking views if it was a clear day, with sights of Catalonia's most iconic mountain, Montserrat, 100 kilometers away. But instead we are caught in a snowstorm and very dense fog that almost ends in disaster. Oh God, it's so cold. I just got inside refugi, these little houses in the upper part of mountains, in the peak of mountains. It's warm, there's a cafe, and there's a fireplace. All I need is to know where Gerard is. I don't know, he was recording, and well, hope he gets in. Suddenly, we are all evacuated because it's no longer safe to be there. In a short while, it will be too windy for the cable car to run. We're now back in the cable car going down, and no worries, Gerard is back here.
Hello. I was just playing with the snow as a small kid.
Oh God, I was about to call the emergency services, and he was like playing like a kid.
Sí que les temporades cada vegada les volem tots més llargues.
It's actually not the best day to discuss global warming, but when I ask Marta about the impact of climate change in the business, she kind of downplays it a little bit. She tells me everyone here wants longer ski seasons every year, and that in fact they were shorter in the past, so they haven't seen any impact from climate change. I start to feel my fingers and toes finally when I get to the car. Why are we such typical pixapins, pine pissers from the city, never bringing warm enough clothes? I'm in G now. It's a municipality very close to La Molina. It's a little bit warmer, maybe it's -1, -2. It's as nice, as beautiful, as striking as La Molina. The landscapes are beautiful. Well, at least until I bumped into 80 houses being built here, a building site of 80 houses.
Soc el Marcel Sangenís, soc veí d'aquí de la Cerdanya i soc membre de la plataforma Stop Jocs Olímpics.
Marcel Sangenís is a member of Stop Jocs Olympics, or Stop the Winter Olympics, a group strongly opposing the gentrification brought by tourism. And he didn't randomly pick this place to talk to us.
Els números són claríssims.
Marcel acknowledges that skiing has contributed to La Cerdanya's economy for years, but mostly by generating precarious, temporary, and usually badly paid jobs. The focus, he says, is on serving middle and upper-class people from the cities, not locals. Marcel explains most of his friends that left the area to study at university haven't returned because they don't want their only career prospects to be making gin and tonics for tourists. He did come back, leaving behind a biology degree, postgraduate studies, a master's degree, and a decent job at a multinational in the Barcelona area. He's now a cook near J, and would need to spend 80% of his salary on rent if he wanted to leave home. He's very skeptical about La Molina's arguments on their water use. He can't understand why the ongoing drought has brought water restrictions in his town and not in La Molina. And he wonders, should the rain and snow falling in the ski resort really belong solely to them?
That certainly sounded cold. Guifré, you survived in the end, and Gerard too. I was getting worried about him.
Yeah, well, we barely survived, to be honest. I mean, weather conditions were really severe, let's say.
This week we've seen like the most wintry weather so far this year.
Exactly. So it was the best week in the year to report on the lack of snow. You know?
Yeah.
A very snowy week. Yeah. But that's what it is.
Well, thanks very much to Marta Viver from La Molina and also to Marcel Sangenís from the Stop 2030 Winter Olympics group. And the food up there, Guifré, it's got its own kind of traditional cuisine up in the Pyrenees.
Yeah, it's delicious. It's very famous for stews, meat. I mean, for meaty people, obviously, and also for potato and this kind of
hearty grub.
Exactly. And I got to taste one of the most famous dishes in the Pyrenees, trencar de la Cerdanya.
I've had that, but in a Barcelona restaurant, so it's probably not the same.
It's not the same, but it's good that you bring it up because this dish is traditional from La Cerdanya County. Then it was, to be found across the Pyrenees, and now you can find it anywhere in Catalonia because it's so good. It's basically potato, cabbage, fat, bacon, and loads of things there mixed up, and it makes a good starter.
Good starter. It sounds pretty hefty, and good after a day on the slopes to kind of warm you up maybe as well, or a day whatever out and about in the Pyrenees. So Marcel, who you met up there, is from this platform, the Stop 2030 Winter Olympics, and we did a podcast. Well, it must be a year ago maybe on the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
What is the latest on that? Because it's kind of gone quiet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this Winter Olympics in 2030 that Catalonia wanted to host is in a dead end. So that's not going to happen, let's say, because there was no political agreement with the other territory that wanted to host this Olympics together in a joint bid, Aragon. But, the Catalan government is still determined to make it happen, even if it's in 2034. At the moment, there's nothing going on. What I can say, though, is like a couple of months ago, I read the International Olympics Committee saying that from 2030 onwards, they would really and especially take into account the sustainability, the fact that the place that hosts the Olympics has to have snow, natural snow and not artificial. And this might be an extra hurdle for the Catalan authorities on top of all the political debates.
Yeah, because all the resorts, they use snow cannons, to supplement. I mean, we had snow this week, as you said, but the snow, I think, arrived very late this year, for example. And with climate change, you kind of expect that to maybe get later. We've had drought in Catalonia. We've talked about that on the podcast. And, there's this kind of war almost over water. We heard there in the report that you had that, it's like who owns the water, who gets to use it, where do they get to use it?
Exactly. So the ski resorts talk about a closed cycle and it's their water and they can do whatever. But obviously opposers say there's no close water. At the end of the day, that's a full cycle. This water feeding the rivers and then going to the Mediterranean and to the clouds, evaporating and so on. So
you can't just kind of harvest it off and just use it to make artificial snow.
And this is going to be a big discussion in the coming years, I think, the water. So now it is already big, but in the coming years it might get a little bit bigger.
As well as the environmental concerns, the way the Pyrenean economy is kind of so geared up now towards tourism, towards ski resorts, that has come in for some criticism as well.
Yeah, indeed, because you've got to take into account that almost a fifth of the Pyrenean economy comes from the activity of skiing, and all the indirect businesses surrounding skiing, such as restaurants, hotels, ski schools too. So what opposers say is authorities are making this bigger and bigger and bigger with public funding of some ski stations and some aid and so on, so that this business stays strong and becomes even stronger. But their point is this has no added value for the economy. This is just, people serving food and drinks to wealthy people, So that's the other criticism. Not only is the employment quite precarious and maybe not super well paid, but all this industry is focusing on wealthy people from Barcelona or elsewhere in Catalonia or in the world, So locals don't benefit from this. That's what they say,
And kind of related to that as well, there's kind of almost an epidemic of second homes in this Cerdanya region. There are many more second homes than first homes, if that's what you call them,
Yeah, in most of the towns, it's like this. In other podcasts, we've discussed the gentrification in Barcelona. This is happening. It's like a little Barcelona in the Pyrenees, especially the Cerdanya county is very famous for second homes of people from the cities in Catalonia. And you can see that the rents, for instance, are even the same price as in the cities. So that is very difficult for locals.
Who are earning less than if they lived in the city, obviously.
Exactly, because the type of jobs are... there are no research centers, for instance. There are no universities in the Pyrenees, just some scattered faculties. It's all focused on tourism. This prevents, according to them, to some of them, this prevents the Pyrenees from, evolving in a different and more sustainable way. And on top of that, the population in the Pyrenees is dropping, is going down steadily, but it is clearly. So on the one hand, the population is going down. And on the other hand, we've got this housing madness, this construction madness.
More and more buildings and less people actually living there. Exactly.
So we're talking about the building rate in Cerdanya County is 12 times higher than the average in Catalonia, so that's a bit insane. Some locals are talking about ghost towns, loads of second homes, but there's no spirit, there's no identity there, there's nothing going on apart from some people going to these homes for 3-4 weekends a year to ski, and that's it.
Well, lots of factors to bear in mind. I've actually booked to go skiing for the first time in my life in a few weeks, so now I'm going to have to be a bit, I don't know, at least a few things to take into consideration.
Exactly, and at least aware about the sustainability of this activity.
I was up until now, I was just worried about breaking my ankle, but now the moral side of it as well. I'll have to weigh up.
Absolutely.
Time now for our Catalan phrase. Guifré, what have we got?
Well, what you're going to do probably when you go skiing, trencar gel.
Trencar gel?
Literally in your case.
Which is break the ice?
Yeah, yes. But obviously we also have the same meaning as in English.
So if you meet someone new or if you're in a kind of...
You talk about the weather, in the lift or whatever, there's always good icebreakers,
Okay, so that
trencar
works.
gel also works in Catalan.
That's good to know. Trencar gel. That's all we've got time for today. Thanks again to Marta Viver at La Molina and to Marcel Sangenís from the Stop 2030 Winter Olympics platform. Thank you to you, Guifré.
Pleasure.
And to Gerard, who kept you company.
And now he's still freezing.
He's thawing out here, so he'll join us another week. And thanks to you for listening. Next weekend, it's carnival time. That's going to be a fun episode. Until then, from me, Lorcan Doherty, and everyone here at Catalan News, bye for now, adieu.